Welcome to the dark, twisted world of Chainsaw Man Part 2. While Part 1 is known for its darker and more chaotic tone, Part 2 shifts deeper into the mysteries surrounding devils, their origins, and the hidden agendas of various factions, adding layers of complexity to the narrative. In this video, we'll be diving into the entire story of Chainsaw Man Part 2 so far. Enjoy. Several months following the events of Denji defeating Makima, we begin our story with Asa Mitaka, a high school girl who doesn't seem to fit in. She watches her classmates live carefree lives, hanging out with friends, having fun, and she can't help but resent them. One day, her teacher, Mr. Tanaka, brings a chicken devil named Bucky into class, explaining that in 3 months, the class will kill and eat him in order to teach them how precious life is. 3 months pass, and Bucky becomes a sort of mascot for the students. Everyone seems to love him except for Mitaka. She retreats to the school roof to eat her lunch when she is joined by the student council president. The president notices Mitaka's annoyance with Bucky and reassures her that it'll be dead in around 100 days, so it's not worth worrying about. Mitaka goes on to talk about how the city they live in is corrupt. She points out that there is a chainsaw devil running around playing devil hunter while there are problems going on around the city, and to make it all worse, now there's a chicken devil in their classroom. As the weeks and months go by, Mitaka observes in annoyance how attached her classmates have become to Bucky. Finally, 3 months after the day he was brought into class, Mr. Tanaka reveals that Bucky won't actually be killed and eaten, as this was all an elaborate lesson to teach them how precious life is, including the lives of devils. To celebrate Bucky being pardoned, the class goes outside for a soccer game. Feeling sad, Mitaka joins them reluctantly, staying off to the side watching the students play instead of joining them. She is approached by Tanaka, who asks why she is all by herself, to which she replies that she goes to school to study, not to make friends. That is when, suddenly, Bucky jumps into her arms and calls her name. She is taken aback by this, as no one but the teacher and class president knows her name. She realizes in this moment that all this time she has hated everyone in school because she was jealous of them. She didn't realize that she just wanted to be like them. With Bucky inspiring something new in her, she decides to finally join her classmates in a game, when she suddenly trips and falls. When she gets back up, she looks on in horror as she discovers she has accidentally crushed Bucky underneath her, exposing his intestines to the entire class. Some of them are in complete shock, while others are seen crying. Asa, swelling with crippling anxiety and disgust, vomits and passes out. Mitaka comes to school the next day and feels her classmates' stares, judging her. She returns home completely ashamed, wishing she would die. In the middle of the night, while she soaks in her bed, she hears her doorbell ring. Outside are Tanaka and the class president, who have come to walk her to Bucky's grave. They tell her that Bucky's spirit might forgive them if they visit him. On the way there, Tanaka and the class president cross the street and Mitaka stays behind. The class president realizes it's because Mitaka won't cross the street without the green traffic signal and begins to berate her for being a goody two-shoes. Suddenly, she mutates into a multi-headed colossus made of muscles and reveals that she made a contract with the Justice Devil, claiming that she and Mr. Tanaka had been having relations, but he had a thing for Mitaka which held them back. Because of this, the only way for them to be happy is to kill Mitaka. She also reveals that her plan was for Mitaka to kill Bucky in order to humiliate her. The transformed class president lunges at Asa with her claws, and in her last moments, Asa is in peace, knowing it wasn't her fault after all for killing Bucky, and perhaps if she had lived a more selfish life, she could have had friends or even a boyfriend. Her face is then clawed open by the class president, and she is left on the ground with one of her eyeballs exposed. In that moment, a devil that takes the form of an owl appears above a streetlight. It tells Asa that if she wants to live, her body belongs to it. Her corpse suddenly reanimates itself and stands up. She turns Tanaka's spine into a sword as she proudly claims herself to be the War Devil, showing off her ability to turn objects into weapons of war. As the Justice Devil strikes, Asa easily decapitates one of its arms and morphs it into a grenade. Then, she slices the Justice Devil's entire body in half and throws the grenade to destroy the both of them. As she is walking away from the explosion, she sees a poster on the wall with Chainsaw Man's face on it and vows to find him and make him vomit up nuclear weapons again. The next day, after the War Devil killed Tanaka and the Justice Devil, Asa wakes up in the bed, realizing she is missing her scars. She turns to her side to find herself with scars on her face and spiral eyes sitting on her bed. This is the War Devil, who reveals to her that it killed her but kept half her brain intact. Its plan is to wage war with the Chainsaw Man, but in order to do so, has to assimilate into the high school where he supposedly attends. If Asa doesn't comply, she will be killed completely. The two of them walk to school together, and Asa finds out that only she she can see the War Devil, as it is a hallucination from her mind. When they arrive at school, Asa is stricken by fear, still feeling anxious about how her classmates views her for the incident with Bucky. Yoshida, yes, this Yoshida, approaches Asa and asks if she's okay. To Asa, the War Devil tells her to ask Yoshida if he knows where the Chainsaw Man is, but she refuses. The War Devil suddenly enters her body, and Asa takes the War Devil's place outside her own consciousness. Asa, now appearing with scars on her face in front of Yoshida, asks where the Chainsaw Man is, but Yoshida acts aloof, answering he just transferred to the school, so he is unaware. The War Devil follows up and asks Yoshida if he wants to be her boyfriend. Yoshida refuses. Asa, watching the events unfold in her own consciousness, is in complete shock, immediately blushes and demands the War Devil why did she ask him out. The War Devil tells her that she has the ability to turn what's hers into weapons. She continues, saying that she can turn many humans into weapons as it can to go to war with Chainsaw Man. Feeling concerned, Asa begins talking to herself, wondering if she can fully take control of her body, and comes up with a solution to speak with the Devil Hunter. However, the War Devil tells her that if she reveals the War Devil's identity to anyone, she'll eliminate her. War Devil confirms that Asa can't hide her thoughts from her since they share the same mind and consciousness, and reveals there is a Devil Hunters Club, asking Asa to join it in the hopes of finding out more information about Chainsaw Man. The War Devil then proposes that if the two can defeat Chainsaw Man, she will return her body to her. Asa forces herself to go to a Devil Hunter Club meeting, and there she is paired with two other students to hunt down a devil by the end of the week as initiation into the club. One of the students she was paired with was Yoshida, once again feeling embarrassed by the situation she has found herself in. Asa, Yoshida, and the girl with glasses walks down the hall of the school hunting for devils, trying to make small talk, while Asa lingers behind them. The girl in glasses introduces herself as Yoko, and she is a big fan of Chainsaw Man. She asks if the others also like him, to which Yoshida says he is also a fan, and Asa lies and claims she has as big as a fan as most other people. As she's leaving the school, she realizes that someone stuffed raw chicken meat into her locker all over her shoes. Completely disheartened, she attempts to leave the school barefoot, to which the War Devil warns her that her feet will get hurt, but she ignores it. Just then, Yuko comes running out with one shoe off, saying she will share one of hers with Asa's. Asa refuses the kind gesture, but Yuko makes her chase her throughout town to give it back. The two of them end up at Yuko's house, to which she invites Asa in, but once again she declines. Yuko sees Asa off, giving her both shoes this time, as Asa walks home with the War Devil pestering her. Yuko and Asa walk to the city, hunting devils while discussing things about them. They reveal to each other that both their parents were killed by devils, which excites Yuko and makes her think that the two of them are like Devil Hunter Avengers in a manga series. Yuko leaves for a moment, and in her absence, the War Devil tells Asa that she should kill her new friend. The more attached she is to someone she kills and turns into a weapon, the stronger the weapon becomes. Asa refuses and tries to change the subject to the War Devil always calling her girl. She insists that the War Devil call her by her own name, and in exchange, Asa must now call the War Devil Yoru. Yoru decides to drop the subject for now, as the closer she gets to Yoko, the stronger she will be down the line. Yuko returns, and the two of them wander around the city attempting to locate a devil, when they suddenly come across a large hideous one attacking people in a building. The large devil is revealed to be the newly reincarnated Bat Devil. Asa sees the devil in front of her, but Yoru warns her not to get close. She is not able to take on the devil at this time, and in other bad news, Yoru isn't able to take over Asa's body when she is stricken with fear. Yoru tells Asa to slowly back away from the Bat Devil. However, Asa and Yoko immediately runs off with a new Bat Devil in pursuit of them. The Bat Devil's enormous size causes the building they're in to collapse around them, and Asa and Yoko are thrown to the ground. Yoko is injured, so Yoru orders Asa to kill her so that they can use her as a weapon, seeing how she can't run, implying she'll die regardless. Yoru reminds Asa that when she died, to live more selfishly if given a second chance, telling her she has to kill Yoko if she wants to live. Asa weighs her options, but she ultimately decides to save her. She runs from the Bat Devil with Yoko in her arms, but suddenly trips and falls. She recalls how she always trips and falls during moments that matter the most. In a flashback, we see her fall on her friend's birthday, a track meet, and the time that her hometown was being invaded by the Typhoon Devil. She remembers how when there was chaos and destruction everywhere, she stopped to help an injured cat, and as she was running away, she tripped and fell. However, her mother helped her up to get to safety, but ultimately led to her death. Feeling remorseful, Asa begins crying alongside the injured cat. She also recalls a conversation she had with Yuko, who said it doesn't matter if her action turns out to be a mistake. As long as her heart is in the right place, she is happy. Asa takes her words to heart and realizes she wants to live like that too. As she reaffirms her motivation to help her friend, the Bat Devil slowly gets closer and closer, readying to swallow the two of them whole. In that moment, Chainsaw Man and another huge devil crash through the building, squishing the Bat Devil to death, causing it to puke Yuko and Asa back up. Yuko and Asa are left behind as we now switch things over to Chainsaw Man as it drags the large devil through a city block, the two of them in a heated battle. The large cockroach devil grabs Chainsaw Man and throws him across the city building, following up with a ferocious strike, causing the building to collapse. Chainsaw Man slices an arm off the cockroach devil. However, it forces Chainsaw Man to make a choice between saving a car full of elderly people or a young talented student. As the devil drops both student and vehicle, Chainsaw Man ultimately decides to aim for the devil's head, splitting its head in half while neglecting to save either of his two choices in order to save a cat that was nearby instead. Later that day, a news broadcast details the events of the battle, saying that in yet another act of heroism, Chainsaw Man has defeated the cockroach devil. Various citizens are being interviewed by a news outlet about Chainsaw Man with mixed reactions. Some are enthusiastic about Chainsaw Man, talking about how cool he is and how he saves the lives of others. Others, on the other hand, doubt his intentions, saying that he's too destructive or that he eats people and pets. Denji is among the citizens being interviewed and attempts to make Chainsaw Man look better. All the while, nobody recognizes he is the person they are talking about. Denji's interview is cut short when he tries to give his phone number to the interviewer, as a girl around Denji's age who was interviewed prior wanted Chainsaw Man to do so. In any case, people cheer in celebration of Chainsaw Man. Denji is feeling proud until Yoshida arrives. Denji doesn't recognize him, yet Yoshida brings up the International Assassins incident, in which Denji pretends it never happened. I mean, honestly, can you blame him? Anyway, they visit a cafe where Yoshida offers Denji a meal. He reveals that he goes to the same high school as Denji and that he is part of an organization seeking to protect Denji from having his secret identity revealed to the public. Disinterested in what Yoshida has to say, he starts devouring a cake with his bare hands. Yoshida asks Denji why he's fighting as Chainsaw Man when there's nothing to gain from it. However, Denji tells Yoshida that he wants his identity to be revealed because it will get him more ladies. Yoshida, confused, is left speechless. While Yoshida figures out a way to prevent Denji from revealing his identity to the public, let's switch things over to Yoru, who pounds her fist and screams into a pillow, annoyed that she and Asa were saved by Chainsaw Man. Asa asks why the War Devil wants Chainsaw Man eliminated so badly, to which Yoru opens up about how during her fight with Chainsaw Man alongside the other four horsemen, her body was partially consumed, weakening her and explaining why there had been no major war since the World War. Being worried that the concept of war has been relegated to just being a media subject, everyone would eventually forget about the concept and she would cease to exist. Asa asks if Yoru is afraid of being forgotten, but the devil had already fallen asleep. In school, Denji is shown to be acting as a seat to a girl when he's interrupted by a student telling him Yoshida is looking for him. Denji explains that for every 10 minutes he pretends to be a chair, he gets paid 10 yen. Yoshida returns Denji's student ID card, explaining that he won't let Chainsaw Man's identity get exposed. Denji tries to back away, only for Yoshida to pay him 10,000 yen if he stays in and acts as his seat. Now, sitting on Denji, he asks if he's trying to expose his identity in order to get a girlfriend, to which he confirms. Yoshida then offers to find him a girlfriend only if Denji promises not to expose his identity to the public, to which Denji agrees and explains that his type is a girl who's desperate for a boyfriend. Thinking for a moment, Yoshida realizes he knows a girl who seemingly fits that exact description. Later, we see Yoshida, Denji, and Asa outside. Yoshida explains that Asa was saved by Chainsaw Man and Denji is a huge fan. Asa explains that she used to hate Chainsaw Man, bringing up several reasons as to why, such as being covered constantly in filth and only saving women, making him a degenerate. Denji, however, refutes each claim with increasing frustration as he hears Asa talk about Chainsaw Man eating people, admitting he only did it once. Asa claps back and says that Denji, who's a Chainsaw Man simp, wouldn't know what Chainsaw Man is like. As a result of Denji's frustration, he confesses that he knows information about Chainsaw Man because he is Chainsaw Man. Asa dismisses him as a loser and leaves, prompting Yoshida to observe that nobody would believe him if he declared it so shamelessly. Leaving Denji on the roof, Yoru is furious that Asa did not eliminate Denji for admitting to being Chainsaw Man. Asa, on the other hand, is still unconvinced, explaining how it makes no sense for him to be a mega fan as well as the real deal. Yoru demands that Asa hunt for another devil in order to get into the devil hunting club, though she says that she's going to visit Yuko instead. Enraged, Yoru asks how spending time with Yuko would lead to Chainsaw Man revealing himself, though Asa responds that if they led a devil to the school, he would reveal himself anyway. Yoru is left to think of a plan, retribution, while Asa remarking that perhaps she can overcome Yoru by controlling her. Later, Asa arrives at Yuko's house, and they sit with each other, revealing their deepest, darkest secrets. Yuko admits to reading self-help books on how to make friends, whilst Asa confesses that she wet herself during class one day. After laughing uncontrollably, Yuko shares one final deep, dark secret to Asa, casually revealing how she took out her neighbor for gambling away his welfare payments. Asa quietly takes some time to process what she just heard, nervously wondering if what Yuko said was in fact no joke. Smiling, Yuko even offers to show Asa the body, then reveals she made a contract with the Justice Devil, granting her the ability to read minds in order to understand those around her and to help Asa. And as a result, she is aware of Yoru and the cause of death for both Tanaka and the previous class president. As they are now besties, Yuko decides she will handle Asa's bullying problem and tells her not to come to school tomorrow. Later on, when Asa asks Yoru if Yuko made that contract with the Justice Devil because of her, Yoru replies yes. Asa wonders about Yuko's statement, and Yoru replies that she will eliminate the classmates who bullied her. She decides to talk Yuko out of it tomorrow, but Yoru runs through her body, now in possession of it. In order to defeat Chainsaw Man, the War Devil announces that she will eliminate Yuko should she transform at school in the event Chainsaw Man appears, adding that she will stay in control of Asa's body until Yuko is deceased. At Yuko's house, like her role model Chainsaw Man, Yuko talks excitedly into the flames, determined to eliminate Asa's buddies. The next day, Yoru arrives at the school and confronts Yuko. Yuko tells the War Devil that she won't be able to defeat her since she can read her every move. Yuko transforms into the Justice Devil as the War Devil antagonizes her, ready to attack. They begin battling, but Yuko is able to read all of Yoru's movements. Students nearby discover Yoru being slammed through a classroom as they witness the ongoing battle. Yuko attacks several students who she believes are bullies until Yoru tosses a spear-shaped pencil as a sneak attack, but fails as the Justice Devil manages to catch it, reiterating that she can read Yoru's every move. Just then, Akoku, a member of the Devil Hunter Club, arrived to assist the War Devil. The Justice Devil doesn't want to injure innocent students, so Akoku seizes the opportunity to strike her. From a distance, another Devil Hunter Club member strikes her with the crossbow, while a third female member slashes the devil with her weapon. The Justice Devil, claiming the Devil Hunters Club ganged up on her, uses that excuse to eliminate two of them and throw the female hunter out a window. Yuko confronts Yoru once more, claiming she knows where she hid all of her weapons throughout the school. Realizing that her effort is futile, Yoru decides to leave the battle to Asa as a last resort. Asa tells Yuko what she is doing is wrong and asks Yoru how to turn an object into a weapon. The War Devil tells her to tap onto something belonging to her and say its name. Asa touches her uniform as it strips off of her, turning it into a sword. She tells Yuko she'll handle the bullies without her, but Yuko claims that by eliminating bullies as a devil here, other bullies throughout Japan would be afraid. With the power of the Justice Devil, she can become a symbol like Chainsaw Man. She continues, revealing that the Justice Devil asked nothing in return for a contract, but rather only gave her a heart that shines with justice. Angered, Asa slashes at Yuko's leg, but nothing seems to happen. After a slight delay, Yuko's torn apart into many pieces, revealing the true power of Asa's attack, which Yoru is surprised by. Asa explains that her dress was gifted to her by her mother, so it held a lot of value to her. The sight of Yuko on the floor brought back a memory of Bucky's motionless body to Asa's mind. At that moment, a woman tells Asa she can save Yuko if she desires. Taking a closer look at Asa, she reveals spiral eyes similar to that of Makima and identifies herself as Asa's older sister. As devil hunters arrive at the school, Yuko, who has grown tremendously in size, bursts out through the school. Yuko decides to destroy the whole school with glee to stop Asa's bullying problems. Yet, she is confronted by two devil hunters, who she easily takes out. Yuko notices Asa passed out and lashes out at Asa's last bully, who may or may not have been the female devil hunter who attacked Yuko earlier. Luckily, Denji arrives before the Justice Devil can finish her off. With a smirk on his face, Denji claims he hopes his cover isn't blown if he transforms into Chainsaw Man. The Justice Devil strikes Denji, but he pulls on his chest cord, transforms into Chainsaw Man, and easily overpowers her with his chainsaws. Yuko tries to read Denji's mind to get an advantage over him, but finds out that he isn't even thinking of the fight, only how to expose his secret identity while making it seem natural. Denji is either one of the smartest fighters in all of Shonen, or well, The opposite. I'll let you decide. Anyway, Denji finishes off Yuko while Asa gets up. The War Devil takes over Asa's body upon seeing Denji and confronts him. She turns one of Yuko's leg into a sword and asks Denji if he remembers her, but Denji only pays attention to her undressed body. The girl Denji saves gets up and is repulsed by Denji, believing he is going to eat her. Denji suggests showing her his human form while Yoru attacks from behind. Suddenly, Yoshida nabs Denji with the Octopus Devil as Yoru's attack misses. In frustration, she shouts at Chainsaw Man to reveal himself. Hanging upside down, Yoshida calls Denji hopeless. Denji is angered that he wasn't able to reveal his identity naturally. Hours later, a network of high school students converse by phone, remarking on Yuko was bullied in middle school and how the weak are susceptible to being tricked by devils. Asa has a dream of a ground littered with dead chickens, and as they multiply, a darkness arrives and she wakes up in terror. Her doorbell rings, despite it being 1:25 in the morning. It is Yuko, who says that she has been turned into a devil and she may try to eat Asa, so she should not open the door. Asa opens the door anyways and sees Yuko's horribly mutated new form. Yuko came to tell Asa she's leaving to find her devil hunter relative who she thinks can heal her. She continues, confessing she made a contract with the Justice Devil, not just to save Asa, but to be idolized like Chainsaw Man because she was friendless, and in the hopes of saving Asa, perhaps she could have gained one friend. She bids farewell and warns Asa that the Justice Devil is still at the school and to not make a contract with it. As a parting gift, Asa gives Yuko her shoes, mirroring the kindness she showed to her when they first met. The two laugh, while Yuko promises she'll return the shoes one day. Yuko leaves, jumping from building to building, until she stumbles upon a group of birds, wishing she can read their minds. Denji, Nayuta, Asa, and the girl Denji saved from the Justice Devil are seen sleeping. Yuko, on the other hand, is shown to be beheaded by a figure with a silhouette resembling that of Chainsaw Man. During their visit to the partially destroyed school, Asa and Yoru see the remains of Asa's uniform sword. Asa asks Yoru if she knows the woman who revived Yuko, but Yoru says no and passes it off as the girl being a mad woman. Then they encountered the girl with the members of the Student Council Devil Hunter Club. Haruka Asumi, the club's president, introduces himself to Asa. He tells her she is accepted into the club. Yoru takes over and asks Haruka if he knows Chainsaw Man's identity. Seeing Haruka's pole cord sticking out of his chest, Yoru believes he is Chainsaw Man and walks away. While Asa is skeptical, Yoru believes the star on Haruka's chest is enough proof, although she acknowledges she is too weak to fight Chainsaw Man. Yoru asks Asa to create a weapon stronger than her uniform sword. Sighing, Asa obeys Yoru's request, saying she is now willing to make a human into a weapon if it means Yoru will leave her body so Yoru won't ruin other people's lives. The idea of turning a criminal into a weapon is suggested by Asa, but Yoru says it would not be powerful since Asa wouldn't feel guilty about using a criminal. According to the War Devil, the most powerful weapon is the line between eliminating a cat and eliminating a criminal. Asa spots Denji, who is picking used cigarette butts off the ground. She thinks that she misjudged Denji in their earlier interaction when she spies on him passing off the used cigarettes as new and selling them to homeless people. Asa realizes that Denji is somewhere between a criminal and a cat. Not so bad that he deserves to die, but bad enough for him to be turned into a weapon. To defeat Chainsaw Man, Yoru convinces Asa that eliminating Denji is a necessary evil. Asa confronts Denji, but he is aggressive towards her because of how she treated him before, until she asks Denji out on a date and he reluctantly agrees. The next day, Asa assures Yoru that she will be able to seduce Denji on their date, as boys will fall for anyone who can show them a fraction of a good time. Denji will be head over heels for her in no time, according to Asa. During the date, Asa sticks to a plan, endlessly lecturing Denji about anemones. Denji wants to go see penguins, as he has never seen them before, but she rejects the idea, believing this is the plan for a perfect date. The second time Denji interrupts, she is confused, thinking he should have fallen for her by now. Asa tells Denji to shut up and stick to the plan. Then, he tells her that he decided to start thinking for himself, and he ditches her to go find penguins. Asa believes Denji is in the wrong. Yoru thinks she's boring, but Asa calls her and Denji the boring ones, as she studied ocean facts at the library for the date. Suddenly, the girl who healed Yuko appears, telling Asa that as long as she is trying to do the right thing, she cannot turn a human into a weapon. The falling devil reveals herself as Fami, the War Devil's older sister. She disappears with Yoru and says that a starving human should be able to abandon their morality and that Asa will not be allowed to leave the aquarium until she turns Denji into a weapon. Denji returns and reveals that the Eternity Devil has returned from hell, trapping them in an endless aquarium. Asa gets frustrated after walking for some time, while Denji confirms once again that this is the doing of the Eternity Devil. However, Asa does not believe him. Then they run into members of the Devil Hunter Club, Haruka, Segi, and an unnamed member, someone from Kobeni's family patrolling the aquarium for devils. Kobeni's relative panics, having not seen a devil in person before. Yoshida appears, claiming he also happened to be there at the same time as them. Asa questions whether she should turn Denji into a weapon or eliminate Haruka, who she believes is Chainsaw Man. After failing to find the Eternity Devil, the group stumbles into a room and discovers they can obtain water from repeating rooms as well as fish to eat by exploiting the endless confines of the aquarium. The group is bewildered when Asa says she can't eat fish, not because she's allergic, but because it grosses her out as she awkwardly leaves. Asa sighs and notices Denji. She argues with him after she catches them stealing money, telling each other to go to hell. Denji storms off while Asa thinks about how she can contribute to the group. She realizes she still has her mother's phone and tries to get a cellular signal, but breaks the phone after she trips and falls. Haruka shames her. Feeling abandoned and defeated, Asa sits down. It has been roughly 3 days since the Eternity Devil started its attack. The fish have all rotted and the toilets are unusable. Haruka tells Asa that if she hadn't broken her mother's cell phone when she tripped, the others would have been able to escape the aquarium. As she feels insulted, she reminds Haruka that he claimed to be Chainsaw Man and should do something to help. Haruka asks what she's talking about, and she reminds him about the starter on his chest. Haruka reveals the implant on his chest is actually a surgical implant, and he got it because he is a huge fan. Asa, in disbelief, asks him to confirm that he isn't the actual Chainsaw Man, to which Haruka breaks down, laughing, begging Chainsaw Man to save him, much to Asa's horror. In response to Haruka's hysteria, Yoshida suggests to Denji that he should do something to fix the situation. Denji tells Yoshida that the only reason he defeated the Eternity Devil in his first fight with it was because it revealed itself to him. However, since the devil is nowhere to be found, he cannot do anything. Denji then asks Yoshida if he can do something, to which Yoshida pulls out a cell phone. Despite this, Yoshida tells him that just one signal isn't enough to call for help, and that the Eternity Devil's power has effectively stopped time outside, making any attempt to call pointless. Furthermore, he tells Denji he is fine with dying, before asking him if Chainsaw Man can eat the Death Devil, to which Denji does not respond. Denji then leaves to find Asa, asking if she's okay as soon as he notices her sulking. After she replies that she is hungry, Denji suggests she eat the fish, but still refuses to do so. Asa then apologizes to Denji for asking him out on a date and getting him mixed up in their current situation. As she opens up, she says that she had tried to turn him into a weapon, but found that she wasn't able to do so because she isn't so sure if what she is doing is morally right. She believes her obsession with messing up makes her a bore to everyone around her, and she's at a loss as to why. As Denji sits across from her, he offers her an edible starfish, asking if she has ever eaten one. Denji points out how this is the only option since she can't eat fish, to which she concedes. However, she claims raw starfish must be boiled as they are toxic. He takes her back to the common room and shows her a pot and lighter he found, as they now have a heat source. When they sit down to eat, Asa notices that there are a lot of school hats lying around, to which Denji reveals he planned on selling them. When Asa asks why he seems obsessed with money, Denji reveals he's saving money for college tuition for a sort of friend, sort of little sister living with him. He explains he never had a normal life and wanted her to grow up having one. The two then eat the starfish. Asa is repulsed by the taste, causing Denji to burst out laughing, saying that even though she bores the hell out of him, she is still fun to be around. Inspired, she asks him to confirm what he said, to which Denji remarks that her newfound bravado reminds him of an old friend. Looking at the hats, Asa figures out a way out of the aquarium by getting as much money as they can find. The two run through the hall, managing to earn a total of 1,000,000 yen. After Asa asks Denji to hand over the item, he initially refuses, but when she offers him anything in exchange, he concedes. She tells him to cover his eyes and ears while remembering what Yoru said about how her powers work and what counts as owning something. Asa closes her eyes and uses the 1,000,000 yen to buy the aquarium so she can turn it into a spear. As Denji waits for Asa to finish her plan, he realizes he is mindlessly obeying someone else just because she said she would grant any request. Before he could think further, he noticed a penguin right before him. As he picks it up, the effect of Asa's deal takes place, with the whole building turning into a spear whilst leaving the devil who trapped them exposed out in the open. The Eternity Devil mocks Asa for even thinking that 1,000,000 yen is remotely near enough to purchase an aquarium, before cursing at Bambi, saying that Asa's actions weren't part of the deal they made. Before the Eternity Devil can strike Asa, its arm is caught by a tentacle, with Yoshida mockingly remarking that the devil helped them appreciate life more. Yoru takes over Asa's body and flings the spear into the devil's chest, impaling him in a single strike and exploding, releasing all the aquatic wildlife that was kept there. The other Devil Hunter Club members are stunned, with Haruka theorizing aloud as to who Asa truly is. All the while, Denji is too distracted playing with the penguin to notice Asa's actions. As Fami watches the scene unfold from a nearby rooftop, she remarks that something else must be tried. Seeing her, Yoshida locks eyes with the Famine Devil. The Devil Hunter Club members are shown talking to several Devil Hunters about the incident, while a surviving aquarium staff member takes Denji's penguin, much to his disappointment. He walks Asa's home, with Mitaka remarking how badly the date had gone. Denji says that he managed to touch a penguin, so there was at least a silver lining to it. Reminding her that she promised she'd fulfill any request, he ends up asking her out on another date, saying that since he's more experienced, he could teach her how to enjoy herself more. Asa agrees, with Denji flashing a peace sign in response. According to Yoru, since they are connected by their brains, they are experiencing identical emotions, love, much to her irritation and Asa's embarrassment. In spite of this, Yoru decides to continue with the plan, taking over her body before attempting to turn Denji into a spinal cord sword. The attempt at turning Denji into a weapon turned out to be a complete failure, with Denji being confused by Yoru calling out Denji's spinal cord sword. After several attempts to transform Denji, she is bewildered when the boy grabs her head and shouts Asa spinal cord sword, thinking it's just a fun way to say goodbye. Asa berates Yoru for trying to transform him into a weapon, and Yoru says that it should have worked since they hit it off so well. Asa theorizes that perhaps it didn't work because transforming the other person requires them to share the same feelings. This leads her to conclude that Denji probably doesn't feel the same way. Regardless, Yoru remarks that due to how little sleep they got in the aquarium, she is going to bed. Asa asks about Fami, to which Yoru responds that it's the Famine Devil and it's been too long since they last met that she can't remember her, advising Asa to avoid her at all costs. But before Asa could ask why, Yoru passes out. Asa thinks about Denji, growing irritated at him for seemingly not reciprocating her feelings despite all they did. The next day, Denji suggests he and Asa attend the local movie theater for their second date. Yet, Asa, still annoyed at him, remarks that this idea is way too expensive for her and that video rentals would be cheaper. Denji asks if she has a VCR at her place, which she says she doesn't. Then, she asks him if he does, to which he replies yes, and Asa remarks that the date should be at his place. Denji is shocked that she wants to come over, but Asa says that they can call off the date if he does not want her to come. He eventually gives in, agreeing to let her stay at the house as long as she follows the house rules, which she cannot break. Asa asks what would happen if she did, and Denji replies that she would die in the worst case scenario. Later, arriving at their apartment, Denji explains that the first unbreakable rule is to not touch any front door aside from his own. Asa asks why would she do something like that, to which Denji agrees and leads her inside. When Asa sits down to watch the movies with him, Denji explains rule 2, not to open the fridge, to which Asa replies that she wasn't even planning to do so. Finally, he explains the third rule. His roommate is currently out walking their dogs, and she tends to overreact, so no matter what, they should never make out in front of her. Embarrassed and offended, Asa shouts that she has no plans to make out with him, shooting Denji down when he tries saying that one thing could lead to another. After Denji points out that she asked him out, she says she hates him, much to his surprise. Calming down, Asa explains that he should just stay away from her since she has to follow her own deadly rules or else he end up dead. As she turns back to the film, she tells him she'll leave after it ends. After watching the movie for a while, Denji begins to question whether Asa was just using him or if he messed up somewhere during their date. Then he wonders if it's because of his body odor, which he compares to the smell of a wet dog, though he wonders whether dogs actually smell bad. Upon turning to Asa, he discovers Yoru staring back at him. She kisses him, much to Denji's shock, and places her hand on his head, similar to when she tried to turn him into a weapon before. But before anything else can proceed, the door opens, and 7 dogs start running into the room. In the doorway, a young Naita stands with similar looking hair and clothing as Makima. Pointing at Yoru, she calls her a thief as a chain shoots out of her finger to pierce Yoru's forehead. Immediately as she's attacked, Yoru begins to bark madly like a dog, much to Naita's amusement. Enraged, Denji asks Naita why she did this, to which she replies that Yoru spat on her property. Having reminded Naita that he only belongs to himself, Denji demands that she return Asa to her normal personality as soon as she is fed. After finishing her meal, Naita asks Denji if it would be a good idea to turn Yoru back to her true self, as every woman he's met has only used him for their own selfish gain. When Denji insists he thinks Asa's different, Naita relaxes, noting that Denji can't get seriously hurt anyway. She agrees to turn Asa back to normal, but she has 2 conditions. First, she can have ice cream every day of the week, and second, Denji must stop trying to romance Asa. Denji is confused by the second one and asks why, to which Naita remarks how awful her scent is. Naita Naita then remarks that she'll alter Asa's memories to believe Denji stood her up for the date. As Denji retaliates, Naita argues that even if they were to see each other, he shouldn't care how she felt about him. In order to protect Asa, Denji agrees to Naita's conditions. Afterwards, Asa stands by herself at the school's entrance. Yoru says it's late and thinks they were probably stood up, so the two of them should target a different boy. Asa begins rambling out loud while also trying to sound indifferent about being stood up. She comments on how she should be focused on returning her body to normal until Yoshida appears and asks if she is okay. After she responds that she is not really doing anything, he asks her if she would be able to keep him company. Later in the day, Yoshida takes Asa to the Devil Hunters Club council room for some coffee. Asa wonders why he's spending time on her since he must be so busy as a public devil hunter, assuming it's because he loves her. When asked about why she was mumbling at the school gates, she states she was thinking about how it's better to live a life of solitude. Yoshida agrees, saying that nowadays, single people can just as easily succeed as couples. This is seen by Asa as a sign that he likes her, and instead of confessing, he says he wants her to stay away from Denji. When Asa asks him why, he refuses to elaborate before leaving. Back in Denji and Naita's home, Naita picks up on the most putrid scent of a devil she's ever smelled. Trying to motivate Denji into fighting, he refuses, saying even if all the ladies want him, what's the point of fighting if he can't have a relationship with any of them? Naita sees where she went wrong, reasoning that as Chainsaw Man, Denji might be able to attract love from the masses, a better option than just a single girlfriend. Thinking it over, Denji agrees, now eager to fight. Elsewhere, a depressed Asa walks home, feeling dejected for being seemingly turned down a second time. Yoru agrees with her that a life of loneliness might be better than constant heartbreak, but as soon as Asa starts thinking about how she has no redeeming qualities and is arrogant for wanting love, the War Devil tries to comfort her, saying that she has been too harsh on herself. Asa then remarks how she's tired of being unable to maintain a healthy relationship, much to Yoru's stunned silence, with her even saying that she's better off dead. Suddenly, Asa notices the corpse of a middle-aged man on the ground near her. Yoru quickly takes over, demanding Asa stays back as she looks up to see every occupant of the complex outside their doors staring directly down at them. We switch things over to the restaurant Yoshida brought Denji previously, with Fami of all people making an extraordinarily large order. Yoshida tells Fami to slow down as that is quite an expensive order, especially since he has to pay for it. The Devil Hunter criticizes Fami for choosing an alias with little effort, but Fami replies, saying that she doesn't care if her identity is revealed. He then proceeds to tell Fami about the prophecy of Nostradamus, which predicts the extinction of humanity in July 1999. Despite the public's lack of interest, public safety took it seriously, and in exchange for their release from custody, 30 convicts made a contract with the future devil. For an unknown price, the convicts received the knowledge of their deaths, revealing that 23 of the 30 will die in July 1999. Yoshida tells Fami that public safety believes she is involved with the prophecy and threatens to treat her as a wild devil if she doesn't cooperate. In response, Fami reveals that the remaining 7 convicts will all die this week. Furthermore, she reveals that a primal fear appeared 40 seconds ago at East District's Tamino's apartments, and that she will be the first devil to cast the world into the abyss of terror. In an apartment, a couple celebrates one of them getting a promotion. One of them asks if they can buy a car if they get a raise, but both decide owning a car is way too expensive. After a brief moment of silence, they abruptly drop the subject and mutually agree that they should perish. Then, they proceed to walk to the balcony and jump to their deaths. Yoru watches in confusion as countless people drop to their demise before her. She summons a ruler sword and takes a stance as a mangled figure emerges from the pile of corpses. Yoru, misjudging the situation, runs away, claiming she cannot win. After attaching a head to herself, the falling devil notices that she is naked and covers herself with the chef's uniform. Her name is revealed, and she announces that she is the chef tonight as requested by Hell's residents. Meanwhile, Yoru is trying to escape while trying to communicate with an unresponsive Asa. The falling devil claps her hands together as we journey through Asa's thoughts, currently going through one of her traumatic memories where the orphanage lady convinces Asa to let go of her cat, Crambone, that she saved at the expense of her mother's life, arguing that one child was allergic to it and Asa should be socializing with the other kids there. Asa hands the cat over, only to later learn that Crambone drowned in the nearby river. When Asa talks to the orphanage lady, the woman responds responds that it is unfair for Asa to still have a family member while the other orphans have nothing. Deeply unsettled by this memory, Asa wakes up, screaming in terror, releasing control of the body from Yoru. Asa quickly grabs onto a nearby railing as she finds herself to be falling upside down. Due to the falling devil's powers tapping into people's traumas, countless others fly up into the air, with some of them going into floating doors, which presumably leads to hell for being devoured. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Yoru tells Asa not to be afraid. However, Asa begins to lose her grip on the railing. While falling, Yoru instructs her to shout, "Nail knife." Asa does so, and her fingernail rips itself off and transforms into a knife. The pain makes Asa forget about fear, which lets Yoru regain control. Because the gravity manipulation has no effect on her, she falls back to the ground. Yoru instructs Asa to focus on her pain and speculates about the devil's identity before assuming that it is the falling devil and that Fami is likely to be involved. However, as Asa experiences another traumatic flashback, Yoru slashes her hand, hoping it will keep Asa from being scared. Much to Yoru's surprise, this has the opposite effect and Asa becomes afraid of Yoru instead. Before she loses control, she dashes under a building to not fall into hell when gravity reverses on Asa. In response to Yoru's frustration, Asa argues that she has no reason to trust her since they don't even know each other, how Yoru always says disturbing things, takes over her body whenever, and just cut her hand. Trying to change the subject, Yoru blames Asa's negative feelings on the falling devil's powers. Yoru's lack of care and understanding frustrates Asa, who says that since she can read her mind, she should know what she's afraid of the most: solitude and companionship. Because of her trust issues, Asa is lonely, but she fears that something will always go wrong when she tries to approach people and she will end up alone again. Yoru is left speechless. Meanwhile, several devil hunters have been eliminated by the falling devil. She keeps one alive, however, and proceeds to serve him as a dish called Diru Atlanta to Hell's residents. Suddenly, a massive worm emerges from the door while the devil hunter looks on in horror. While the demon feasts on its prey, the falling devil announces it's almost time for the main dish, which will consist of Asa and Yoru. Chef Mami blitzes through a crowd of people, ripping out their eyeballs and ears. As she collects 4 ears and 10 eyeballs, she considers the next ingredient. She visits a supermarket to shop for apples. She asks the store clerk, who's pinned against the ceiling, which apples would best pair with human flesh. Slurring her words, the clerk apologizes, utterly terrified. Assuring her that she means no harm, the falling devil leaves the store without paying. Suddenly, she remembers that she forgot about one ingredient, a man's head, so she asks if anyone is willing to lend her one. A group of devil hunter snipers open fire, destroying her body. She instantly regenerates, revealing that she is immune to any and all attack humanity currently possesses. In an effort to avoid meaningless bloodshed, she asks again if anyone is willing to spare her their head. The devil hunters open fire again. Annoyed, she uses her ability to destroy everything around her. Amidst the chaos, she quickly beheads one of the devil hunters and takes their head. With all ingredients complete, she prepares to go after Asa, but Denji arrives, ripping her apart with his chainsaws in a surprise attack from behind. He shouts how she is an apple thief. She quickly regenerates and retaliates, beheading him and slicing him up, but he reassembles and tears her apart once more, much to her surprise. The fight between the falling devil and Denji continues, with the falling devil regenerating and sending Denji flying into a nearby building with a powerful kick. She tries to reason with him, saying that she won't kill any more humans besides Asa, and as such, they should stop fighting. Upon hearing this, Denji becomes even more motivated to fight, telling her to keep her hands off of his ex-potential girlfriend. The falling devil stops his attack midair and orders him to fall, which forces Denji into reliving the trauma of Aki's and Power's deaths. With Denji falling into the sky, the falling devil prepares to pursue Asa once more, but Denji attacks her again, ripping her in half. He reveals that by cutting up his brain, he temporarily becomes incapable of cognitive function, thus protecting himself against mental attacks. He starts imagining the falling devil as a French corn dog and starts eating her. The falling devil lets him partially eat her, then regenerates inside him, ripping him in half. Eventually, Denji runs out of blood and cannot regenerate. Having dealt with Denji, the primal devil pursues Asa. Suddenly, an unknown figure appears next to Denji. By cutting open their palm, they heal Denji. Meanwhile, the falling devil has found Asa, looking terrified. Gripping onto a loose exhaust fan cover, Asa is holding on for dear life, only for a falling devil to grab a hold of her head. She tells Asa that she's more afraid of the pain by falling to her death than dying itself, and she promises Asa a peaceful and painless death if she closes her eyes. As she considers the injustices in her past, such as her former caretaker murdering her cat and Yuko becoming a devil, she accepts the falling devil's offer and lets go. While all this is happening, Yoru screams in panic, helpless to do anything. As she falls, she admits that Falling Devil was telling the truth and that now she has no need to worry about hurting others or being hurt. However, she reveals her one regret, wishing she had some form of companionship, even if it were with just one person, only for her thoughts to be interrupted by Denji as Chainsaw Man jumping up to rescue her. Asa pleads to Chainsaw Man to let her go, reiterating her nihilistic worldview of how life is full of suffering. Denji initially agrees, but as soon as he notices that the negativity is causing her to race upwards, he tries to overload her thoughts with those of dogs, cats, and ice cream. Soon, the two have stopped floating upward, but Asa, still clearly affected by Crambone's death, asks Chainsaw Man what would he know about grief, to which he replies that he understands the feeling. As soon as things start looking like they're only going well, a catastrophe happens that makes life seem unimportant. Denji continues to speak, stating that some days are just drowned out with negativity. Asa asks him how he's able to overcome such negativity, to which he admits he hasn't yet, but he's able to look past a crap burger because he has a desire worth fighting for. Asa asks what that desire is, to which Denji enthusiastically replies that it's sex. Still in tears, Asa reacts with disgust. She calls Chainsaw Man a creep and tells him to go to hell. Confused, Denji explains that sex isn't gross at all and that humanity has only succeeded because of how great sex feels. Asa retorts that sexual activity is only done when a person has nothing better to do, pointing out how mixing bodily fluids especially grosses her out. Denji disagrees, to which Asa asks why he'd assumed he ever get any. Damn. He explains to Asa that he plans to get a girlfriend, but Asa shouts that no one would want to have sex with a man with a chainsaw for a head. This revelation caused Denji enough distress to make him start falling into hell as well. Waking up near the head of another victim, Denji cradles an unconscious Asa before lifting her up and heading towards another door. While escaping, another devil decapitates him, but he reassembles himself and continues running. Arriving at the door, he is blocked by Falling Devil, who demands that Denji release Asa, declaring that he is not a part of the dish. Denji jokes that she should at least save him the ass, to which she calls him a pervert. Suddenly, Falling Devil is impaled from behind by what appears to be a different Chainsaw Man, leaving Denji astonished. According to the pseudo Chainsaw Man, the Falling Devil does not tolerate customers who do not finish their food, and as a result, the rest of the devils in hell will strive to devour Asa to satisfy her demands. He then asks Chainsaw Man to evade the other devils until sunrise. After drifting into consciousness, Asa notices two Chainsaw Men before a mass of clawed tendrils attempt to grab her. Denji and Asa leap out of a doorway, arriving back on Earth. Due to the monster's attack, Chainsaw Man is bleeding from the stomach. Yoru appears beside Asa, requesting she finish him off in exchange for returning her body. The moment she notices Asa begin to hesitate, she becomes frustrated and lashes out at her, annoyed that she does the opposite of what she says. Grabbing a rock, Asa jabs at her palm, causing both of them to scream in pain, before using the blood to revive Denji. While Yoru is irritated that her mortal enemy is being saved, Asa explains that Chainsaw Man has saved her twice, inspiring her to keep living. Another spiked tendril peers out of the doorway behind Yoru, causing Asa to scream for Chainsaw Man to save her. Just as the tendril is about to strike them, Denji is revived, picking them up and leaping onto cars and building walls in an attempt to evade the demon. As more tendrils appear from nearby buildings, Denji screams that he is tired and may not be able to save Asa. Asa asks him to steal the motorbike she sees on the highway, but he refuses because a woman is riding it. Soon after, she spots a man riding a bike, which Denji is more than happy to steal, although he blames the theft on her. Yet, Denji realizes he has no idea how to drive a motorcycle and asks Asa for advice as another attack is headed their way. By shouting Super Chainsaw Man motorcycle, Asa quickly transforms the bike, which dashes forward on its own with amazing speed, slicing the tendril in half. Racing through Tokyo, Denji discovers his newfound ability to transform bikes, unaware it's Asa's doing. Asa echoes fake Chainsaw Man's advice, outrun the spiked tentacles for freedom. Denji questions her trust in the doppelganger, but she notes he saved them. The tendrils swirl above before crashing down upon them, though Denji and Asa evade them just in the nick of time. The source of the tentacles is revealed to have been the same demon that the Falling Devil was serving. It emerges into the physical world, morphing a hand into a mallet and swinging it at the two. Denji wonders about its power, only for Asa to direct its attention to a floating high-rise building ahead. Falling Devil hurls it at them, but they slice through it. Launching upwards, leaping through the building, they are met with the caterpillar-bodied demon again, whose body opens up to reveal a giant mouth. Heading towards the unknown devil's mouth, Denji tries to steer them out of the way, but Falling Devil forces them inside, remarking that food isn't supposed to be able to run. She asks the devil about the taste of fear-soaked humans, but it responds by vomiting, regurgitating both Asa and Denji from its mouth. Falling Devil, teary-eyed, scolds the devil, claiming that she made the meal with love before obliterating it with a blast of energy. Moving away from the wreckage, Falling Devil apologizes to Fami, revealing Asa's consumption plan was her idea. Fami orders orders her back, causing her to burst into flames and transform into a miniature version of herself. Naita is also present, and Fami asks if she was able to make the devil throw up. Naita explains that by controlling the devil's brain just slightly, it made the devil believe that humans taste like actual crap. Naita asks why her sister is targeting Asa and Denji, to which Fami reveals that the prophecy is going to lead to the world being overrun with devils. Initially, Naita seemed to be on board with the idea. However, Fami states that she wants to save the world in order to preserve her favorite foods, fearing that pizza and Chinese food would cease to exist if the prophecy came true. In disgust, Naita immediately switches sides. Fami notes that the prophecy itself will happen no matter what, but she thinks that she can refocus it on the war devil. Naita questions her earlier attempts to consume Asa, but Fami claims it was to starve the war devil, as she is able to control those who are experiencing hunger. She proposes an alliance, but Naita swiftly declines, as she prefers going to school instead. The next day, Naita enjoys her lunch in the school cafeteria, persuading her two classmates to give her their desserts. They discuss the absence of their fellow peers, speculating whether they left Tokyo, but one of the kids mentions that it's more likely they met with a darker fate. Naita is intrigued, but interrupted as armed officers storm the school and apprehend her. Meanwhile, in a hospital, Asa is experiencing a nightmare awakened by a news broadcast of the previous day's attack. Feeling anxious, Asa sits up. She reflects on Chainsaw Man saving her life once more. The news broadcast reports global natural disasters due to the falling devil's gravity shifts, and then switches to Haruka Izumi giving a speech, looking for recruits for the Chainsaw Man Society of World Peace to prevent the coming prophecy of Nostradamus. The crowd initially supports him, but mockery ensues, deeply affecting Haruka. Backstage, Haruka questions Fami on why she made him go there in the first place. Fami justifies the mockery's necessity and that he shouldn't think about anything. Then, a mysterious figure puts their hand on Haruka's shoulder and backs Fami up, stating that the Chainsaw Man Society will lead society to a world without evil, with Fami as the movement's brains and Haruka as its face. Haruka reluctantly agrees, frightened by the apparent mastermind, whilst reassuring himself that this is all for the sake of Chainsaw Man. Elsewhere, Denji's tied to a chair in a cell, stripped to his underpants. Yoshida claims to protect him, which Denji disagrees with Yoshida's definition of protection. Yoshida reveals Asa's location and mentions Naita and the dogs are also under protection. Enraged, Denji throws himself from the chair furiously, threatening Yoshida, and even offers to do sensual favors for him in exchange for their release. Yoshida declines, insisting they mean no harm, but Denji tells him to go to hell. Later on, seated alongside a group of clashing protesters, Yoshida explains to Denji one group of protesters are demanding that the Chainsaw Devil be treated as if he were another devil and be put down, whilst the other group are members of the Chainsaw Man Church. Denji finds it somewhat satisfying that people are arguing over him. Yoshida explains that the church initially comprised of diehard fans and devil victims, but now mostly consists of unaware high school students. Politicians are funding the church because these students will soon have the voting power, so Denji's public image is slipping from his control. To prevent the likelihood of widespread riot, Yoshida gives Denji an ultimatum: to live a regular life and never transforming into Chainsaw Man, or have Naita executed. Yoshida tries to persuade Denji to choose a normal life, which was what he originally wanted, but Denji declines. He desires both worlds since being Chainsaw Man brings him attention. Yoshida warns that public safety will kill Naita if Denji refuses, but Denji still enjoys the idea of people fighting on his behalf. As Yoshida continues to try and warn him, Denji tries to get his fans to kill Yoshida for him, only to hear Naita call out from the crowd. The two hug, and Yoshida scolds Naita's handler for revealing her prematurely. Yoshida tells Denji he was just about to set him free. Hearing the threat to her life, Naita asks Denji to tell them to f*** off, with the two of them leaving immediately after, leaving Yoshida to wonder if Denji understood what he meant. The next day, Denji strolls past multiple TVs and students, overhearing various opinions about Chainsaw Man. The news of the prophecy has spread, with some students mistakenly believing that Chainsaw Man will face off against Nostradamus himself. When Denji gets home, he starts combing Naita's hair, and she mentions the ongoing clashes between the Church of Chainsaw Man and the police. Denji admits that he's decided to stop transforming into Chainsaw Man because he thinks his current life is perfect, and he doesn't want to put Naita's life at risk for his own happiness. Naita challenges this notion, asking him if he's truly believed what he's saying, sparking an epiphany for Denji later that night. He talks it over with Pochita, wondering if it's okay to aim for a life that's better than average, only to be interrupted by Miyawi joining them. Still awake, Denji flips through channels on the TV and stumbles upon another speech by Haruka. A member of the crowd raises concerns about the church's recruitment demographics and collateral damage. Haruka explains that they informed the city and the Ministry of Defense before their activities and only recruit experienced hunters. He mentions that members must follow Chainsaw Man's principles, fighting for selfless reasons. When asked about these principles, Haruka claims to have received them directly from Chainsaw Man and offers the crowd a chance to speak to Chainsaw Man themselves, surprising Denji. Haruka rallies the crowd into a chant, and Denji rushes to the phone, eager to address the public. However, his excitement turns to shock as a random hunter claims to be Chainsaw Man. This imposter tells his origin story of being part human and part devil, gaining powers after an encounter with the Justice Devil. He claims to fight to rid the world of devils and elaborates on his motives in biblical terms. Denji shouts at the TV in frustration, waking Nayata from her sleep. He begins to vent, explaining that he never did what he did for any grand purpose, and people started calling him Chainsaw Man in recognition of his deeds. As Denji breaks down in front of the TV, Nayata comforts him. The morning after the Church of Chainsaw Man broadcast, Asa listens to a news report questioning the legitimacy of the Church's Chainsaw Man. Asa agrees, mentioning that the Chainsaw Man she knows is crude and simple-minded. She blushes as she continues her thoughts, but is interrupted by the smug Yoru, who reminds her that she still plans to kill Chainsaw Man and asks why she fell in love with him. Asa retorts, saying that she's grateful that he saved her life multiple times. She changes the subject, wondering why Yoru is in such a cheerful mood. The War Devil explains that the falling devil's gravitational chaos has led to widespread poverty worldwide, increasing the likelihood of war. Asa asks if Yoru still plans to go after Chainsaw Man once she regains her powers, and Yoru confirms this, telling Asa to stop thinking about it. However, this causes Asa to flashback to the night Chainsaw Man saved her, and her mind starts crafting a sappy, sensual love poem in his honor. Their awkward poem reading is interrupted by Fami suddenly appearing and snatching their loaf of bread. Instead of answering their questions about how she got there and what she wants, Fami repeatedly asks if she can eat their bread. After being allowed to, Fami quickly devours it with strawberry jam and reveals she's there to help them. While Yoru initially wants her to leave, Fami, still rummaging the fridge for more food, explains that there's a way to fulfill both their desires. She reveals that Chainsaw Man has given up on fighting devils, but he can't become an ordinary human due to his heart. Because of his status, Chainsaw Man is always under threat, and many in the church want to protect him from devils themselves. The church's leaders want civilians to hunt down all devils, ensuring that he doesn't have to fight anymore. This would weaken his power, causing devils to no longer desire to fight him. Asa is asked to join the church to support this plan as a way of repaying Chainsaw Man for saving her. Yoru objects, questioning why she would still help. Fami reveals a photo of the black Chainsaw Devil, pointing out how it's different from the red Chainsaw Man who saved them. If Asa goes along with the plan, she'll be able to go after her true target. Asa protests, bringing up Fami's involvement in Yuko's attack and the aquarium incident, as well as the fact that she left the fridge open. She also finds it suspicious that the church uses the fake Chainsaw Man as their spokesperson. Fami explains that the fake is meant to divert devil attention away from the real Chainsaw Man and insists that Asa should trust the church. Later, a news story breaks out about the slaying of the carpenter B-Devil in an apartment complex. The devil hunter responsible is a volunteer with no professional record, working for the church. This is her 10th slaying this month alone. The slayer is revealed to be Asa Mitaka, and rumors began to circulate that she's actually behind Chainsaw Man's various successes. At home, Denji watches the news broadcast, surprised to hear Asa's name mentioned. The following day, a depressed Denji was approached by a guy who thought of himself as pretty smart as he arrived at school. The guy noticed Denji's Chainsaw Man t-shirt and started giving him a hard time, talking about this theory that Asa was behind the recent hero stuff Denji was doing. He tried to make Denji feel guilty for supporting someone who might be a bad person. Before Denji could respond, another student jumped in, threatening both of them for dissing Chainsaw Man. Denji tried to figure out what to say, but the second student quickly threw a punch at him. Later, in the principal's office, Denji got scolded, and the principal thought he started the fight because he grew up as an orphan. As Denji left, the principal even mentioned that the other student had to go to the hospital because of Denji's attack. Afterward, Denji met up with Yoshida, downplaying the whole fight by saying the guy just lost a tooth. Yoshida brushed it off as a typical high school thing, something he wasn't too familiar with either. To cheer Denji up, Yoshida suggested they ditch class and hit the movie theater.
You like Huey Lewis in the news?
At the movies, Yoshida remarks that they're not having too much fun, and Denji scolded Yoshida for talking during the film.
Yeah, early work was a little too
They talked about the empty theater because of some squid-like devil attack, but thanks to the devil hunters, it got sorted out quickly within 2 minutes. Yoshida told Denji that life isn't like a movie, and things move on with or without you. Just as they were chatting, a third person walked in. Yoshida had secretly invited a student who wanted to date Denji. He left them alone and wished Denji good luck on the date. Denji asked if what he experienced was what it's like to be normal, and after thinking for a bit, Yoshida said it was. But when the girl sat next to him, Denji started rambling about his troubles and wanting to be left alone. However, he got interrupted when his date got touchy-feely with him. She had a really twisted expression on her face, but Denji was too focused on the fact that she's groping him. Denji's date got pretty personal, asking about his virginity and suggesting that she could be his first if he did a certain task. Licking the squid devil.
Ew! Dude! What the f?
Denji takes a moment to think about it and is skeptical of her proposal. He finds it strange that she's suggesting such an intimate act when they've just met. He thinks about telling her that he's more mature now and doesn't blindly follow orders, and that she should leave and have some self-respect. Unfortunately, because Denji's down bad, he immediately goes ahead and licks the tentacle as she asks, showing his extreme obedience by even sucking on it in a rather daring manner. After this, the young woman takes Denji to a private karaoke room, hinting that the owner of the place would overlook their intimate activities. Denji asks if they should start, but before he can, his date surprises him with an impromptu karaoke session. Hey guys, editor's note, they sing a song called Choo Choo Lovey Mooney Mooney Mura Mura by Maximum the Hormone, which pokes fun at over-sexualization. It's a pretty good song. You should check it out. Anyway, Denji takes her singing as a sign that the date might not be a setup. However, their moment gets cut short when a group of random guys armed with baseball bats storm into the room. Denji kicks one of them in the face while she keeps singing, revealing both bat-wielding men. Then, Denji grabs a bat from one of the strangers, charges into the hallway, and takes down the rest of the attackers while she finishes only the first verse of her song. Denji, with a wild look in his eyes, asks if there's a second verse, to which he casually replies that the fight seemed more exciting and grabs a bat of her own. Denji and his date exchange intense gazes, but then she suddenly charges at him with the bat. Instead of striking Denji, she hurls it towards one of the fallen men on the ground who was holding a gun. She picks up the model gun and comments on how it makes sense they couldn't afford real ones. Confused, Denji questions if she's truly his enemy as she was singing while he was under attack. Yoshida intervened, introducing her as Fumiko Mifune, his junior. Fumiko reveals she's part of Tokyo Special Division 7 for public safety and has been assigned to be his high school bodyguard despite being 22 years old. Denji repeats his question about the karaoke attack, and Fumiko admits that she can't stop singing mid-song. This frustration leads Denji to lash out in anger, prompting Yoshida to explain that his Chainsaw Man fame requires some protection. This attack implies someone aware of his secret identity sent those men after him. Fumiko swoons over Denji's strength in his human form, and he skeptically assumes she's just flirting as part of her job. Fumiko disagrees, genuinely expressing her admiration for him as the one and only Chainsaw Man. Yoshida then lightly taps Fumiko to express his disapproval of her not taking her job seriously, before reassuring Denji that he won't have to fight anymore. Meanwhile, Asa and Yoru watch a news report about their latest exploits as devil hunters. Asa enjoys being considered beautiful, while Yoru enjoys the fame and recognition that come with their duty. Asa reiterates their goal of saving Chainsaw Man, but Yoru corrects her, sharing her own, slightly contradictory motivations. She also admits her frustration that Chainsaw Man has experienced similar happiness. Asa pretends to feel creeped out by the fame, claiming it's a breach of her privacy, but her facade quickly fades as she can't help but smile at the news story. In an alley, Denji stares at a Chainsaw Man church recruitment poster, puzzled by Asa's inclusion. A stranger noticed his annoyance at seeing an unfamiliar face next to Chainsaw Man and strikes up a conversation. The stranger comments on the rumors that scars appear on Asa's face when she battles devils, making her quite a memorable character. Denji questions why the man is talking to him, and he reveals that they've met before, though Denji doesn't remember. Denji asks for his identity again, and the man reveals himself as a sword hybrid from the battle against Makima in Tokyo Special Division 5. Denji remains clueless, muttering to himself about who Swordman might be. Swordman provides a straightforward answer to Denji's unspoken question, explaining he was a sword hybrid once under Makima's control. Still somewhat baffled, Denji clarified that the Chainsaw Man he fought in the battle wasn't him before heading off to school. In the classroom, it's revealed that Swordman, whose real name is Miri Sugo, is a transfer student from Kanagawa. He shares that he's athletic, skilled at playing the piano, and not interested in making friends. As he takes his seat, a group of girls surrounds him, bothering him to the point where he asks Denji for help and shooing them away, leaving Denji feeling frustrated and and envious. Later outside, Denji attempts to question Miri, but it becomes evident that Fumiko is also with them, sitting on his back. Miri discloses that the weapon hybrids are affiliated with the church and have offered him a high-ranking position. Fumiko questions the logic of not making Denji the leader, but Miri explains that someone in his position enjoys considerable freedom in choosing missions and rewards, even getting to eat steak for every meal. Fumiko dismisses the offer, imagining herself eating sushi and parfaits instead. Denji chimes in with his preference for Chinese food before Miri steers the direction of their conversation back on track. Miri acknowledges that he knows about Denji's history with Makima and reveals that he was in a similar predicament until Denji helped him break free. Consequently, he joined the church to dedicate himself to a cause he's grateful for and suggests that Denji do the same. Fumiko questions whether the church might be taking advantage of him too, but Miri counters, stating that using Chainsaw Man as a chair feels wrong. Denji responds by expressing that despite his current circumstances, he can still enjoy the things he loves while living the life he once dreamed of, leading him to reject Miri's offer. Frustrated, Miri departs, expressing his desire to befriend Denji since he's the one who freed him from Makima. As he leaves, he casually mentions that joining the church could have allowed him to sleep with as many women as he wanted. Oddly enough, despite leaving the area first, Miri manages to run into Denji again, who states after thinking about it, he changed his mind. Outside a building adorned with Chainsaw Man's head, Sugo explains that the building was once owned by a cult. Denji, in his typical blunt manner, asks about finding women to spend time with, but Sugo suggests they take a tour first. They meet up with the student from the aquarium incident, Nobana Higashiyama. Denji remarks that the cult seems to consist mostly of students. Nobana explains that very few adults work for the cult due to fear of quote-unquote ultra-violent weapons from the Americans in the air. Denji finds this hard to believe, asking if Nobana is serious. Nobana claims that Chainsaw Man possesses supervision, which allowed him to discover the truth about the weapon. Denji's attention shifts to a different room, identified by Nobana as the Chainsaw Man wedding chapel. Nobana mentions that the adjacent room is where Denji would exchange in sexy time with a woman before marrying her in the chapel. Denji protests, stating that he has no intention of marrying anyone. This leads Nobana to try justifying the teenage marriage policy, attributing it to American propaganda. Denji loses his patience, shouting at Sugo that he's never encountered any of Americans' quote-unquote ultra-violent rays and that this isn't what he was promised. Sugo admits that he wasn't entirely truthful, but he believes the church does a lot of good in the world. Denji questions whether that justifies child marriages, prompting a heated exchange. Sugo argues that Denji joined without hesitation and that it's acceptable if some people suffered as long as the greater good is served. Nobana attempts to defuse the argument by continuing with the tour, but is dismissed by the flamethrower hybrid Barum. Barum extends his hand to greet Denji, but playfully sticks his fingers up Denji's nose, irritating him. He wonders aloud why Chainsaw Man hasn't been fighting devils lately and asks Denji what it would take to make him return. He suggests that a massive devil attack might do the trick, but Denji reiterates what Yoshida told him, that other devil hunters would be there to handle future devil attacks, including Asa. Barum taunts Denji about knowing Asa, but as soon as he notices Denji's silence, he asks if Asa's death would motivate him to come back into action. Before Denji can respond, Barum presents a hypothetical scenario involving a scale, with Denji's ordinary life and those around him on one side and the thing that transforms him into Chainsaw Man on the other. He asks Denji what he values more. Stunned, Denji breaks away from Barum and runs off, with Barum shouting after him to enjoy his ordinary life while he can. Later, Denji and Naita are seen shopping in a supermarket where they spot a display of discounted Chainsaw Man curry buns. They load up their basket with the buns and head onto the street, only to be interrupted by a devil attack. Before Denji can reach for his ripcord, civilian devil hunters rush over to handle the threat. Back at home, Denji and Naita enjoy the curry buns, and a montage shows them settling in for the night. Later that evening, Denji gets up and looks at a Chainsaw Man poster, reflecting on his recent choices. Naita, half awake, asks Denji to go back to his sleep. He questions whether he would be content graduating from high school and getting a regular job like a normal person, to which he asks if he's unhappy. Denji admits he isn't sure, and Naito playfully calls him hopeless. She reassures him that she'll stay with him no matter what, to make him happy, adding that her cuteness alone should keep him from feeling down. As she drifts back to sleep, Denji returns to her side. The next morning at a family burger restaurant, Barum, Miri, the Whip Hybrid, and the Spear Hybrid discuss their plans for a citywide attack during lunch. Barum mentions that the church has a day of worship scheduled for tomorrow, which will keep them occupied with devil-related matters. However, he expects that an endless number of public safety hunters will show up the longer their attack continues, ultimately forcing Denji to transform into Chainsaw Man to deal with the situation. Miri questions the necessity of targeting civilians and causing such chaos, to which the Whip Hybrid suggests, as weapons, they don't need to think. Miri argues that as humans, they deserve the right to think. Barum agrees with both perspectives and adds that they are also devils. He asks the group what they all have in common, and the whip hybrid humorously replies, "They're hard to spell." Bruh. Barum responds that all three are designed for killing, and therefore, God will forgive them for the bloodshed they will cause tomorrow. Elsewhere, Naita enjoys herself at an amusement park, with Denji and Fumiko watching nearby. Fumiko comments on Denji's decision to reject the Chainsaw Man Church, and he solemnly admits that he will follow Yoshida's advice and avoid transforming into Chainsaw Man again. Fumiko jokes that being Chainsaw Man would have opened up opportunities that a normal person could only dream of. Denji responds by saying that having those responsibilities isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Fumiko agrees, mentioning that she wouldn't want to be watched in the bathroom. Denji catches her Freudian slip and confronts Fumiko about her spying. She tries to brush it off as a simple mistake, asking him not to think too much about it. Denji calls her behavior to that of a stalker, which she justifies by claiming to be a fan. However, this only seemed to remind Denji of all of his past romantic interests having ulterior and murderous motives. He tells Fumiko that all his past lovers despised him. Fumiko's expression breaks, and she confesses her resentment towards Denji for not being able to save her parents. She reveals that her family lived in the same town where Denji fought the gun fiend, and their house was destroyed in the conflict, crushing both her parents. Despite her pleas, the sound of revving chainsaws drowned them out, leading to her parents' tragic demise. Surprisingly, Fumiko doesn't blame Denji for being unable to save them. While she saw him turn back into a human and realized he was just a regular kid, not a god, she decided to dedicate her life to helping Denji, not Chainsaw Man. She considers herself a fan of him. Denji tries to take this all in, but is interrupted by Barum's arrival. Barum, on the other hand, declares himself a fan of Chainsaw Man. He sits down beside Denji and remarks that he's aware of Fumiko's affiliation with public safety, admiring their thoroughness in terms of security. Denji asks what Barum wants, and Barum playfully pulls out a Chainsaw Man themed lighter to ignite a cigarette. He mentions having a fan request to witness Chainsaw Man in action again, possibly due to Chainsaw Man's ability to keep fighting regardless of the adversary. He then tells Denji that he has a hunch about an upcoming devil attack on the amusement park's first floor, where the victims will soon be screaming for Chainsaw Man to help them. It is then shown that the site of the battle will be the park's food court, filled with parents and children. It's then revealed that Miri, the whip hybrid, and the spear hybrid are present, each of them dreading what they have to do next. The spear hybrid condescendingly refers to the others as children, and suggests that they should target women and children to maximize the amount of screaming caused by each kill. The whip hybrid takes issue with this comment and reveals her age, stating that she's turning 82 years old. Miri reacts in shock, calling her a hag, but she retorts that she never ages and will stay that way forever, seeing it as a sign from God. The spear hybrid uses this as justification for their upcoming murder spree and instructs the others to finish smoking, as they'll begin their rampage soon, even though he's the only one smoking. Mary is trying to muster his courage, repeating the whip hybrid's advice to himself as he prepares to transform. However, all three hybrids are suddenly cut down by Quan Chi. Both the whip and spear hybrid are decapitated before they can properly transform, but Miri still manages to shift forms briefly. Yelling at Quan Chi, the longsword hybrid is decapitated shortly after. Quan Chi reports to her superiors that the mission was successful and that Special Division 7 should be sent into the Chainsaw Man Church 20 minutes after the first media coverage. A news report falsely claims that the attack on the food court was caused by gunmen, and both the police and public safety will be raiding the Chainsaw Man Church. A senior member of the church explains that if the church's weapons are discovered in the basement of the building, the organization will be charged with treason. Nobana and Haruka are left confused, and the other member instructs Haruka to gather all combat-trained followers outside the prayer room. Haruka attempts to get an explanation, but the man insists that he doesn't know anything and believes Haruka doesn't know a thing about it as well. At the church, as Nobana and the other students arm themselves with guns, the old man who spoke with Haruka claims that the weapons were granted to them by Chainsaw Man himself. His words rile up the students, unaware that a police officer outside directed Special Division 7 to enter. Suddenly, a fiend bursts into the room, commenting on how the majority of the cult consists of children and insisting they shouldn't be wielding guns. As the old man orders the students to open fire, the fiend swiftly moves forward, impaling each student on the wall by their clothing with nails, rendering them immobile. The fiend singles out one student and asks him to promise that the cultists will focus on studying from that point onwards. However, when she hears the student's indifferent response, the fiend violently strikes the student's head with a hammer, causing the other students to scream in terror. The old man expresses his disdain for public safety, accusing them of selling their souls to devils. He believes the only suitable countermeasure is to fight fire with fire and become a devil himself. himself. Transforming into a host of the Justice Devil, he attempts to strike the Fiend, but the Fiend remarks on the arrogance of humans. Just as he announces that he's delivering Chainsaw Man's justice, he is swiftly defeated by Katana Man, who still harbors resentment from his previous encounter with Chainsaw Man. A public safety member reports that all Chainsaw Man church chapters in Japan have been captured and their weapons seized. They are instructed to create a support group for the parents of the minors who were part of the church and to call in the media to exploit the situation. The same person authorizes the capture of Asa Mitaka before admitting he hoped that she could have turned Chainsaw Man into a weapon. A lower ranking member informs him that the devil named Consultant wants to speak with him and ask about the church's plans. The man speculates that the church members may just want to play being Chainsaw Man. Elsewhere, public safety is shown arresting Barum, who is revealed to be the second in command of the church. Considering that public safety already has Quan Chi and Katana Man, Fumiko wonders why he shouldn't just become a part of their team. Instead of responding, he requests a moment of silence to gather his thoughts, as it's his favorite time of day, sunset. The earlier public safety higher-up converses with another individual, the named Consultant, who reveals that they decided to identify the devil as the Justice Devil. The higher-up questions if it might be a different devil, but the Consultant insists that it is indeed Justice. The Consultant then asks whether the Chainsaw Man church followers can use their contracts with Justice after death, which the higher-up confirms to be true. A follower was able to become the Justice Devil after the church's raid. The Consultant then reveals that the devil who has been claiming to be the Justice Devil and the true Justice Devil are not one and the same. Later, Asa and Yoru watch a live broadcast of the church's Okinawa chapter being raided, and they are surprised to learn about the illegal weaponry stockpile. They hear a knock on the door and an order to surrender. Asa reveals she has a plan since the apartment belongs to her. She can turn it into a weapon and asks Yoru to take control of her body afterward. The War Devil is impressed by her wild behavior, but Asa puts the blame on herself. She transforms the apartment into a weapon and attempts to attack the public safety member. Barum is shown singing Kumbaya and praying to God as he's being arrested. Denji tells Nayata he'll take her home, and Fumiko offers to drop them off, and we see that the public safety member Asa is facing is in fact Yoshida, who has managed to slice one of her arms. Yoshida stands over Asa with his sword drawn, apologizing for his actions despite her compliance. Asa, horrified, looks at her severed arm on the floor, and Yoshida prepares to strike her down with his katana. Meanwhile, Barum is being escorted by Denji, Fumiko, Nayata, and multiple public safety agents. He starts explaining the church's past actions, admitting they lied about the devil's identity, but revealed the truth about the rest. He explains that Fami's connections in the devil world allowed members to contract with the powerful devil, the Fire Devil, granting the ability to transform into any desired form. Nearby, a Chainsaw Man church building catches fire, and some onlookers start sprouting chainsaws and attacking the police. This phenomenon spreads worldwide as many church members turn into humanoid chainsaw devils. Members inside the church building, raided by Katana Man and the unnamed Fiend, begin transforming as well, which prompts Katana Man to attack and shout out Chainsaw Man's name in rage. Barum continues, revealing that the Fire Devil's power grows with more contracted users, but warns that most lose control. He mentions that previous forms of these contractors, such as Yuko and the Old Man, were more gruesome. A crowd of these contractors kill the agents escorting Barum, believes him, Nayata, Denji, and Fumiko alive. Fumiko asks why they didn't transform earlier, and Barum reveals that at 5 o'clock on that day, the church's Chinese and Canadian branches organized mass weddings involving approximately 350,000 members. These weddings bound them into contracts with the Fire Devil, leading to their transformation into full-fledged devils, no longer retaining their humanity. Meanwhile, a distant building's top floor explodes, startling Denji and Fumiko. Barum claims that in half a year, the prophetic Great King of Terror will descend on Earth. He and Fami aim to kill the King of Terror to save the human race. Denji dismisses the prophecy as stupid crap, but Nayata confirms its truth, revealing she and Fami are sisters. The King of Terror in the prophecy is their eldest sister, the Death Devil. Devil hunters engage in combat with the transformed followers in the streets, and Nayata realizes Fami's plan to make everyone on Earth afraid of Chainsaw Man and war, to strengthen their respective devils to eliminate the Death Devil. This brings us to the very end of Chainsaw Man Part 2 so far. With chaos raging in the streets and fake Chainsaw Men running wild, how will Denji and Asa work together to take down Lady Death? To find out, you're going to want to click on this video right here.